Before we begin the formal presentation, just a very quick safety moment. This is a fairly full room. In the unlikely event of a fire or some other emergency, there are exits through the door that you came through. There's also exits on either side of the stage. Those exits lead to fire escapes, so if you have to leave the building for an emergency, please use the exit that's closest to you. If it's just for something regular, please exit out the back, as my understanding is the doors up front are alarmed as we tripped one of those. And with that out of the way, my name is Lee Hoffman. I'm an attorney with Pullman & Conley in Hartford, and I'm also the project's attorney. And I want to thank all of you for coming out today. This is a very important issue, and there's going to be a lot of ideas exchanged tonight. And seriously, we want to thank you for coming out here tonight, listening to the presentation, sharing with us your questions, your comments, your concerns. It's really important that we do this, and we're gratified by the response that we're getting. You will see there's 2 cameras here in addition to the other cameras. This meeting is being recorded. The recording will be up on our website. There's a QR code in the back on that sign. There will be QR codes on the slide presentations and everything else. So if you want to refer back to this meeting, it will be available to the public. You will be able to see it. So feel free to come back and watch it. Tony, you want to hit the next slide? We're gonna go through a presentation. Bill Corvo is going to talk about the benefits of the project to the state and to the community of Plainfield. Rick Audette will then lead a technical discussion giving an overview of the project as well as the various and sundry intricate technical issues that are involved. We have a series of technical experts. When we came before the town last year, we heard loud and clear what the town's primary concerns were. They were in no particular order up there on the agenda: traffic, solid waste, odor, noise, air emissions, surface water and groundwater use, as well as controlling ash. And we will go over every one of those, and we have a series of technical experts to talk to those issues. When we're done, we will leave plenty of time for questions, answers, and comments from members of the audience. What we would ask is that you come up to this mic. I'll sit down and not be here. Come up to this mic, ask your questions, give your comments. We would ask that you limit them to 3 minutes to start. It's a big room, and a lot of people are going to want to have something to say, and so we ask that we limit those comments to 3 minutes just to start. If you have more than 3 minutes, feel free to get back in line. We're willing to stay here for as long as it takes so that everybody gets their full say, but we also want to give everybody a chance to have that say. And if you would also give us your name and where you're from. We will probably not be able to answer every question here tonight. The questions we can answer, we will answer live and in real time. But if we need to get back to you with an answer, we will. We'll also post the Q&A on the website, and the answers that we have, we will post on our website as well. We will also be providing a report on this meeting tonight to the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. Part of why we're here is to make sure that the community is fully informed about the project. And with that, I'd like to introduce the project team. I'll be going down this way. So, as I mentioned, Bill Corvo is the project manager for Smart Technologies. That is the developer that is building this project here in Plainfield. Smart is a joint venture between O&G Industries of Torrington and Advanced Waste Technologies, Inc. Their brief bios are there. In addition, I am the project lawyer, and my law firm is Pullman & Conley, and that's up there. Not going to insult you by reading that. And then we have a series of technical experts. TRC is a leading environmental services company, and they've been assisting us with air quality issues, noise and odor abatement, as well as solid waste issues in order to get this project to work. SLR does our traffic and our water and wastewater and stormwater engineering. Valmet is a Finnish company that has really revolutionized the waste industry in Europe. They're a Finnish company, and the technology that we're using would be the first of its kind here in the States. And then Bulk Handling Systems, or BHS, which has a fantastic system that actually processes the waste ahead of where it goes, so that recyclables are pulled out, organic material is pulled out, and the waste is really dealt with in a very advanced 21st century way. And representatives of BHS are here as well. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Bill Corvo to talk about the benefits of the project.
Thank you, Lee. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. It's important that everybody in this room understand that we are here not just to tell you about what the SMART process is all about, but also to listen to your concerns. And we will take them seriously. We've been following everybody's comments in the public realm, Facebook, petitions, everything. So our idea is this is a kind of a public conversation, and what you have to say is important to us. We will react positively and try to make our project better at every step along the way and less negative impact if possible. The real benefits of what we have put together with the SMART Municipal Solid Waste Process System is that we have married a number of technologies together that you're going to hear these gentlemen and ladies address and explain to you in more detail. So I'm not going to belabor that point. But this is a unique system that we have put together where we marry a whole bunch of technologies so that... Can you hear me now?
Pull your mic down a little bit.
Not very low. No.
It's very low?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to start at the beginning again. At the end of the day, the most important element is that you get to see the presentation material and listen to the technical people who have world-class expertise. That being said, there are special benefits which apply specifically to Plainfield. Those benefits include reduction of local taxes. The reason that happens is because this project is a sizable project, and it will be able to provide, once completed, several $1 million per year in new tax revenue.
We're poor, we get it.
I couldn't hear you.
She said, we're poor, we get it.
Okay. Thank you. The idea is, the revenue stream is so substantial, and we will work hand in glove with the town if we get approval to do this project, to make sure that those benefits materialize. The second major element, and it's not going to be the biggest employer in the town. You've got a number of pretty good sized entities that have come into town recently with hundreds of jobs. But that being said, this facility will provide a minimum of 160 long-term jobs.
How much of it is gainful?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
How much of it is gainful? How
Can-
much is going to keep up with the cost of living?
Excuse me. I've just been told by our attorney, we're going to have questions and answers later. I'm not going to interrupt myself again. The other element that's important that we're bringing forward for Plainfield to benefit from would be stabilization of your local municipal solid waste costs. Everybody has to have their garbage taken care of. And as you are probably aware, the cost of processing garbage has increased quite substantially, and I've got news that it's going to increase even more. And that's because we're taking millions of tons of Connecticut waste hundreds of miles away to be dropped into a landfill so that we can then get methane and other greenhouse gas pollution coming back to Connecticut. And what we would suggest doing is we would specifically work with the town to try and set up an MSW processing system where the SMART process would be able to take care of the Plainfield municipal solid waste at the most reasonable price possible. Finally, when you see the mapping, you're going to see that we have created an island of development in the middle of a 512 acre parcel. And the total size of the island of development is 81.2 acres. In doing that, we have, based on our conversations with the permitting people, we have set aside areas of conservation to support the development. And what this does is it creates a buffer, a substantial buffer of 150 acres for conservation alone. And that goes on the west side of the parcel and to the south. And it also creates approximately 31 acre conservation area to the north. So you've got revenue, tax revenue, increases in local employment, stabilization of your local MSW processing systems and costs. And we're taking every step that we can to do this so that we will have proper conservation of the property so that it does not impact on our neighbors. That completes the initial presentation on the special benefits. I'd like to call up my good friend Rick Audette, who is the project director at O&G, and he will begin to Rick.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks, Lee. Appreciate it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Sure you can hear me. 'Cause I can talk very loud. Yes. I was in the Marine Corps, so I know how to talk loud. Okay? I want to thank you all for coming. I'm an engineer. Been an engineer for 46 years. I happen to be, I drove by a plant today I worked on 395. It was in Killingly. I was with ABB. We built that 520 megawatt plant 31 years ago. We put that plant in. Okay? So I may age myself because my wife keeps saying, another meeting? You're going to another meeting? Yes, I am. And I took on this project. By the way, I worked with the O&G for the last 27 years. I'm very proud of that. And I took this project on because of the technology. We visited this technology in Finland, in Europe. We spent a week there. We've never seen anything like this. And as I've noticed in my travels around the world building power plants, the Europeans and the rest of the world is so far ahead of us in the U.S., we just don't want to admit it many times. We're still putting our trash in landfills and letting it do all the methane, and everybody talks about CO2. Well, they don't do that there. They haven't done it in over 75 years, almost 100, okay? This project here, and I'll go very quickly because my attorney said you got to move it along. Okay. So we'll move it along. Real quickly, guys. I got you. Okay, it's real simple. Project's on 82 acres. There's 3 building blocks to this technology. First building block, would you see the arrow, is what we call the sorting facility. That's by BHS. Gentlemen here will come up and talk to you about this. That's where we pull out all the plastics, the cardboard, the paper, the inerts. What's inerts? What is that? It's metals, it's batteries, it's tires. There's no toxics on this site, by the way. Nothing is kept on this site. I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay, we can get to that. You have questions and answers. Get to that. The next thing is, it's a dry aerobic, anaerobic digester. What is that? Okay? We take the organics, which are food waste, that are in the trash. You know, we all do it. We put our food waste in our trash bags that are picked up, that your trash collector picks up. Well, this system, and this is what they do, they pull out that food waste. It goes into that digester, and in that digester, we convert that to renewable natural gas. And that renewable natural gas is injected after it's cleaned according to natural gas standards into the local natural gas lines. It's not bottled, it's injected into the gas lines. Or we use it to produce more electric generation. Either or. And by the way, we also capture the carbon, CO2, which is greenhouse gases that everybody talks about, that we breathe out, that's CO2. We capture all that. The next item is, this is not an incinerator. I'm sorry, it isn't. This is a gasification process, as you can read up there. It utilizes a chemical reaction technology that causes, and we'll get into that detail later, it's a thermal decomposition of the material in a gasifier at 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. There is no combustion in that gasifier. It decomposes the material, and the byproduct of that material is syngas. Okay? And that syngas up there is what we call, we form renewable natural gas. And we produce electric power with that. In this case, 45 megawatts of power. Tony, we're going to show you a quick 5-minute video of this project and give you a little bit more detail.
We don't want it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can see it from my backyard.
Folks, we understand you don't want it. We also have an obligation to let everyone know what this project entails. We will not interrupt you, but the public needs to hear this. I understand that, but we'll be here all night. Okay? But the reality is that we're required by the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection to have a public meeting to inform the public. I understand that you're upset, but please don't interrupt us, and we will interrupt you when it's your turn.
Put it in your backyard. You think it's so good? They can do.
Limited future capacity and outdated, highly polluting mass burn incinerating waste for energy plants that don't meet tiny emission standards. These plants also generate additional waste ash, further stressing landfill capacities. Recent closure of the Materials Innovation and Recycling Authority facility in Hartford, Connecticut, also known as MIRA, has accelerated our innovation.
Representative here from PHS, who would be doing most of the hiring, I might add, for the facility. Lee, would you come up and talk about the sorting system, please? Thank you.
I think you should put it in Connecticut where you live.
What kind of job?
Yeah, how about Greenwich? Go to Harvard. Google their fucking names.
On the table.
Thanks for the opportunity here, you guys. I understand that you have your concerns. I came from Oregon to speak with you guys tonight, so I just want to share with you. Our company is based in Eugene, Oregon, and we've built, I personally built dozens of these facilities all over the U.S. and all over the world. And so I just want to, we've already talked a little bit about some of the technical capabilities of the equipment. And this meeting is really an explanation of the technical side of it. As far as the location of the plant, I understand your concerns about that. And that's a conversation for probably different people. We're technical people, so we're here to talk about the equipment. And so, since we're here, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about it, and you've seen a few clips there, and one of the things that I love about the sortation equipment, and that's kind of the key characteristic to take away from this part of the system, is the separation capability. So your solid waste, which is going somewhere right now, most likely just dumped into a landfill or gone to an incinerator somewhere.
Wait for hundreds of years.
It's sitting there and it's producing natural. We've already talked about that. I don't need to explain that again. So what this equipment does is it sorts everything into its highest and best use. And we're looking for things that have commercial value, things that have a high caloric potential for energy production, things that have a high biological potential for methane. We're actually building an exact facility right like this in Eugene, Oregon, right in our backyard, and we're very happy to have it. So anyway, the commercial value, there are certain items like metals, aluminum, that sort of thing, which can be separated out and captured. There's high caloric value, high BTU value items that are in your waste right now that can be captured out and put to their highest and best use. And the biological process is an interesting one because the food waste, the green waste, part of the MSW has always been a bit of a challenge for waste processing. So you take it to a landfill, it goes in there, and it decomposes naturally over time. Everybody understands that. We're all gardeners, we have compost bins, we understand that. You might as well just go to the AD slide now, Tony, and we'll just talk a little bit about the anaerobic digestion side. So instead of doing that and just releasing that into the atmosphere, what we're doing is we're going to take what happens naturally, the natural biological process that happens in decomposition, and we're going to control that and accelerate it, and it'll be, we'll capture both the methane and the CO2 and create two products. One is the renewable natural gas, and the other is the CO2. And so those are, I just did a little bit of a search before I came out, and you can double check me on this, but we're expecting that this just from the natural gas portion of this is going to generate about 160 million, or 160,000 million BTUs, or you can see the cubic feet of natural gas. And from what I could tell, a standard 3-bedroom house here in Connecticut consumes, if it's an older house, it'll consume about 160,000 BTUs of gas to heat that for a year. If it's a newer home and a little bit more efficient, it'll burn about 100,000 BTUs per year to heat it. And so the natural gas that's produced by just collecting and processing this will heat anywhere between 1,000 and 1,600 homes in the area, just from what we're capturing and processing here. So there's a benefit in that, and besides, it's not just falling into the landfill and getting released. So anyway, that's that portion of it. Let me just give you a few numbers, because it's always interesting to have numbers. The ultimate daily cover, that's at the landfill. Maybe just a quick explanation of what that is, if you're curious. The natural landfilling process is you haul your garbage in. It's like a garbage sandwich. You put the trash in, you cover it with soil, and then you put another layer and another layer, and it goes back and forth like that. This material is used at the landfill, and it's used for the daily cover. And so you're not using the natural soils, so it's an amendment to that. So that's a benefit there. And there's about 52,000 tons per year that we're estimating for that. We're estimating about 6,100 tons of CO2 capture, and so that's what would normally just be vented or off-gassed into the atmosphere. There's going to be cleanly and controlled and completely enclosed capture of that. So anyway, thank you for your time, really, and for letting me tell you a little bit about our process. I'm always impressed when I go to these sites and we build these plans.
Listen to all the BS. We want questions and answers.
Yep.
And if it's such a good idea, put it in your backyard.
Better believe it.
I know. You want to read the back study?
This is way over some people's head.
So we have representatives from the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection
They told
in the
us
audience
this well.
tonight. We're doing this as part of our requirements for our permitting. Let us finish. I understand you get it, but let us finish. We'll move more quickly, but we do need to go through the other issues: traffic, noise, air emissions. Please let us finish.
Rats, go out the rats.
Not local.
Yeah, well, I know.
BS.
The wrong place.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me all right? Okay. My name is Dave Sullivan. I'm with SLR Consulting. I manage the transportation planning group for SLR. So I'd like to give you just a few comments on the traffic study we conducted. The traffic study we conducted had a significant study area. We analyzed 14 intersections, including the site driveway. And the 14 intersections were from interchange 32 along Route 14, all the way down Route 12 to Route 14A and back to the interchange. And when we do a traffic impact study, I won't go through the whole process, but the word impact comes from change in levels of service. So it's like school grades. If you get a C, it's acceptable. If you get a B, it's better. What we found when we analyzed this with the projections that were very detailed, that none of the levels of service at any of the analysis intersections would change.
Bullshit. What about the new warehouse?
That's crap.
14.
You know.
The super warehouse. What about that one? Did you take that into consideration? You're full of shit.
We did take that into consideration.
I am disrespectful.
We did take that into consideration,
Yeah,
as a matter of fact. And I'll get into that in a second. Some of the operational features that we'd just like to point out in addition to the result 6,400 trucks. So we're adding 85 times 2 to the 700 trucks that are already there. So you can see that we're not
What about Amazon?
we're not changing the character of the traffic that's out there.
Can you take that?
Another thing that we're doing is limiting the hours. The hours will be limited from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's a limitation, and those would be on Monday through Friday, so no activity in terms of the MSW trucks during weekends or evenings. The other feature of this particular project is the location. So we're really able to limit truck traffic and the amount of truck traffic and vehicular traffic, but primarily truck traffic, that's going to infiltrate any local roads. So it comes out, it's on a state highway, Route 12, it intersects with another state highway, 14 or 14A, and is on the interstate system. So it's located at a very good location for this type of other features of the traffic characteristics is the design of the driveway. It's been enhanced, and the reason you want good driveway geometry and ample radii is so that the trucks could come and the cars could come in and out of the driveway with the least bit of disturbance to the traffic that's already on the road. And lastly, we improved the sight lines. The requirements for site distances are based on DOT standards, is based on the travel speeds, not the posted speed limit.
So we evaluated we determined what the prevailing speeds were, or 85th percentile speeds, and we're providing adequate sight distances for the largest and slowest of vehicles. Next slide. The last thing I'll talk about quickly is the location of the site. You'll see down on the bottom is where the smart technology plant will be. And what this is pointing out is once you come out of the driveway into Route 12, our traffic will be going to interchange 32 or interchange 29. The only traffic that will be mixing with is at the interchange, which would be the U-line traffic. Now, the U-line traffic is almost all exclusively going to exit 29. There's only a handful of truck trips from U-line that would pass that interchange and mix with our traffic. It's important to point out, the U-line is really a different beast from this in terms of traffic. The amount of trucks that they're generating is some 3 times the amount of traffic that this is generating. Amazon, once it comes online, will be using the interchange even further south, so we won't be mixing with that traffic and those trucks. I point out, somebody mentioned if we're accounting for it, when we do these analyses, we have to put these developments that are approved into our background conditions, which we did in this particular case. So that gives you some perspective of where the site sits and where we have done our analysis. And again, to reiterate, the levels of service will not be impacted from what you feel today.
People are so rich, why don't you just buy Plainfield and buy us all out?
A little bit about the solid waste that will be coming into the facility and the things that won't be allowed in the facility. Amanda Wade from TRC.
I apologize, I'm shorter than everybody else. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes. Okay, thank you. So, you've heard a lot about the process today. What I'm just going to talk about a little bit is the type of waste that the facility will be taking and how it will be inspected and monitored to ensure that it is limited to the materials that we can use here for recycling or that will be going on for processing within the anaerobic digester. So this facility is designed and will be permitted only to accept municipal solid waste from residential or from commercial facilities. So the commercial facilities would be things like restaurants and stores. We're not talking any industrial materials at all.
He said tires and everything, and now you're contradicting him.
So I'm going to talk a little bit more. SMART will have enforceable contracts with our haulers. So this is not a facility that's going to be open to the general public. This is not going to be so that people can bring their trash on a daily basis. This is strictly for larger haul trucks that allows them to actually monitor those loads and have agreements with the haulers, and if we see materials coming in, they can turn them away and they can also pull things out. Waste loads will be inspected upon arrival. So when trucks come in, they will go to the tipping floor. They will provide information to the attendant as they cross the scales, so we know what the truck is and where it came from. That also allows for us to provide additional educational information to them if we start to see waste loads come in that have any material that's unacceptable. Those loads are inspected as they're tipped onto the floor, and they're also inspected more closely on a routine basis so that we can pull materials out, including recyclables. So, as you mentioned, we do understand that there may be incidental wastes because homeowners do not always throw away only the things that are allowable in their trash. It does happen from time to time. As you saw, our process allows for us to handle the waste numerous times, both mechanically and manually. So we can pull materials out that are not beneficial to the process and make sure they are disposed of appropriately.
Where?
Yeah.
Show pictures of what you want to build. Show pictures of what you built. And what the shit yards look like behind them.
So the materials that are pulled out are individually managed. They are stored separately, they are under lock, and they will be hauled off by licensed haulers to make sure that they go to licensed and permitted facilities as they're supposed to do. Materials that are not allowed here that we understand may come through. So tires, yes, we may from time to time see a tire end up in the load because somebody threw it out. We understand things like batteries may show up from time to time. Again, we can pull that out of this process and remove it and have it sent off for either tire recycling or for battery recycling before it enters the process. So those materials, once they have been pulled out, like I said, will be stored individually and sent away. And there are materials that are not allowed into this facility. So those materials would be things like wastewater treatment plant sludges, any hazardous waste, any industrial waste. So as I said, we take commercial but not industrial. Anything that is a processed waste will not be allowed into the facility. They will be turned away if they end up showing up at our gate. And liquid waste will not be allowed. Thank you.
Showing pictures of the.
Thank you, Amanda, appreciate it.
Show one that's been built already. I'll pull
Talk
it
a little
up
bit
and
about
show
the
you.
odor. Odor is a major issue, as you all know. And that's one of the reasons why the European facilities that we've looked at, they're totally closed. They're,
We're not in Europe.
from the time the trucks go inside the building, and all the trucks coming to the building, if the trucks are not enclosed, they are not let through the gates of the buildings. We've actually seen this. We've actually seen this. And it's the same thing, the same methodology that we're going to be using, okay? And the buildings, people have asked, well, how do you keep the odor in the buildings? The buildings are kept under a negative pressure and sectionalized. And biofilters and air changes in the buildings themselves is what keeps the odors in the buildings. It's a phenomenal thing to see. You can walk around those buildings and you smell nothing. You literally smell nothing. Okay? So from those two processes, control of the delivery of the vehicles to the gate, and from the gate to inside, and the conveyors too. All their conveyors are totally enclosed. So the material coming from the sorting buildings to the gasifier, totally enclosed. There's no trash whatsoever on their sites. You want to take a trip to Finland?
You make my plane ticket, no go.
Our next discussion will be on
Touch on noise.
air emissions.
Traffic.
Please speak about the noise.
We have.
Please speak about the noise. You didn't touch on that.
Oh, I apologize. Noise. We have to make what we call the nighttime and daytime decibel levels at the property boundaries. So luckily, with this technology to keep odors in, the building construction allows the noise for the mechanical processes in the buildings. We're well below any of the noise requirements for the state of Connecticut.
How many decibels?
It's 51 and 61.
How about the turbines at Point Ship Blow?
It's 51, excuse me, it's, the question was asked, I'll answer this question, even though it's not that time frame. It's 51 decibel levels at the property boundaries, that's the state of Connecticut's requirements, during the nighttime. And it's 61 decibel levels during the daytime. We have no problem, we're well below those levels, because everything is enclosed. So I'll answer that question.
Is it on perimeter of the facility or conservation land?
So we can move on now to air emissions. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Bob Fraser. I'm a combustion engineer and an air permitting specialist from TRC in Windsor, Connecticut. I work for SMART, and my principal job with this project has been to prepare the air permit application, which has been submitted to the Connecticut DEP. No facility can be built without an air permit to construct. So I heard somebody say, we have no say. Well, yes, you do. That's the first place you have a say. The application is some 400 pages long. There's a lot in it, a lot of detail. We welcome you to get it, review it, issue your questions and comments on it. I'll be here tonight to answer those that I can. But SMART has asked me to summarize those 400 pages in about 5 minutes. And so I can only have the time really to explain how the process works, how it avoids air emissions and controls air emissions, both, and how it compares to existing facilities in the state. So, if we could go back to that first slide, please. This is the combination of a number of technologies in series all working together to minimize air emissions. So in the sorting plant or the separation plant, we are removing things that can be recycled and returned to the value chain. Glass, metals, e-waste, things like that. These things are thrown out in people's trash because we don't do a lot of sorting in the United States, actually, at our home. We don't have 7 bins where we put different things, which, by the way, they do that in the island of Mallorca because they have no waste disposal capability at all. So if we don't want to do that, we just put it in the barrel, they come and pick it up, they bring it to here, and we have a plant to sort it centrally. Incinerated in one of the existing plants, or sent to a landfill to be buried and rot. That just doesn't make sense in the new circular economy. Then after that, we've got a more refined organic stream, which we refer to as RDF, or refuse-derived fuel. In the EU, RDF is a commodity. It's sold as fuel to a number of people. It's not done at the facility. But this RDF is a more concentrated stream of organics to be destroyed. And we take a bunch of that and divert it to the anaerobic digester that we've already talked about. And that anaerobic digester converts it, reformulates it into actual natural gas. That natural gas is used to backfeed the pipeline in Connecticut. You've all heard about shortages, natural gas shortages. They won't build a new pipeline. We can backfeed the pipeline in Plainfield and make available more gas for people who want or need it. At the same time, that digester plant is removing the CO2. The anaerobic digester makes CO2. That's being liquefied, reformulated, and sold as a byproduct to somebody who needs it, like food-grade CO2 or other uses. So that we're saving that much amount of CO2 from going out of stack.
How big is this pipeline you're talking about? How big of it? How many?
And questions will be later, please, but I will try to answer that. So then the remaining RDF goes to the 2 gasifiers. These are CFB gasifiers. They're dedicated units. What they do is they heat the material in the absence of oxygen. They're not combusting it, but the heat of pyrolysis is the technical term, causes that material, the long chain molecules that make up the trash to begin with, are being broken down into smaller molecules. The solid molecules are long chain, that's why they're solids in the trash. Gaseous molecules are short little ones like natural gas, which is CH4 primarily. This synthetic gas that we're going to produce is made up of hydrogen and CO, carbon monoxide, which is flammable, and CH4, and then it has some nitrogen in it, which comes from the air, of course. Water, CO2, is in it as well. And that causes it to become a low BTU gas. It's not natural gas, it's low BTU, synthetic gas. But all of the constituents of that syngas are also in natural gas, just in different proportions. So we then take that syngas, which is now a fuel. It's no longer waste. Now it's a useful fuel. And we take that syngas and we clean it. So we put it through a very extensive filtration system to get out any dust, any particles that are in that. And it's very, very efficient. We take the clean syngas then and put it into a thermal oxidizer, which is connected to a boiler to recover heat.
We know what the hell you're
Thermal oxidizers are used extensively to control VOC, CO, certain pollutants like that that can be further oxidized. And this is a special one. It's 100 feet tall, and it has a 2-second residence time at 1600 degrees F, which is designed to fully destroy those molecules down into water and CO2. And by the way, that temperature is a much better temperature for combustion than what's going on in the incineration fleet in Connecticut. This is a cooler burn and a longer burn, and it avoids the formation of a lot of the NOx that the others emit, and it avoids the formation of things like dioxins.
How many cooling towers you gonna build?
I'm going to keep going, and so then we're in a heat recovery boiler. We're going to complete combustion of that syngas, and we're going to extract heat to make steam, to make electricity to put back into the grid. Renewable energy. Finally, we have an extensive polishing air pollution control system on the back end to make sure anything that gets through, whether it's things like mercury or acid gases or sulfur products, it's a very extensive, it's all in the air application, it's all fully explained, it's beyond backed. There's a full section in there about that, as well as the actual emissions, the level of emissions that may be emitted. The facility will be permitted and limited in terms of what it can emit by DEP. So I'd ask you to go on the website, take a look at the air permit application. I just wanted to explain to you, this is not your grandfather's mass burn facility in Connecticut. It's a completely different technology. Yes, SMART had to go to Finland to find an example. They're running all the time and running very well in Finland doing this exact process.
Compared to today's
So-
emissions levels, it's higher or lower than today?
Oh,
That's higher, right, sir?
during the questions, I'll address these slides, please. It's up there on one of the boards, but it's much less than anything that's currently operating in Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. We have one more category, then you can have all your answers, questions and answers. I want to talk about water, because I know water and aquifers are one of your major concerns. I would like to bring up Scott Bristol from SLR. He's our water consultant. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. We've heard a lot of information tonight about traffic, air quality, municipal solid waste. I'm sorry.
Speak directly into the mic.
So I'm going to talk about surface water and groundwater throughout the area. So some background. Most plants like this, the recycling and generation facilities, can use somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million gallons of water a day. Then they discharge that water either back to a surface water or stream or something like that. That puts significant demands on natural resources, obviously. As we've heard tonight, this isn't one of those plants. In fact, this plant uses very, very little water. So it's designed that way to operate without the need for large quantities of water. So if you don't have large quantities of water coming in, you don't need to discharge large quantities of water. So I'll say that slightly differently. We'll not be pumping any water from any surface water body, including the Quinebaug River. We will not be discharging any MSW, municipal solid wastewater, to any surface water body. There will be domestic sewage from the bathrooms in the facility and some boiler water that will be pumped to the Plainfield sewer plant. We will not have any septic fields or leach fields. When it comes to storm water, we are a fully enclosed system. The MSW, municipal solid waste, will not be exposed to precipitation. So, when it comes to surface water, we will not affect the quantity or quality of the lakes, streams, Quinebaug River. So if you look at the slide real fast, the orange area shows the delineated by USGS, DEP, and others, surface water drainage area. That is a local drainage area. It drains along Sugar Brook. So all the water within the orange line drains towards the Moosup River. Okay, it drains towards the Moosup River and then into the Quinebaug. So you see the plant is located right in the middle. So the water flows inward toward the plant and then northward. That's all the surface water. So every drop of rain that falls in that area drains northward. When it comes to groundwater, it's much the same. We will not be pumping any groundwater. We will not be discharging any wastewater to the groundwater. No anaerobic digester wastewater will be discharged to groundwater. The plant will use a relatively small amount of water that will be supplied by the Connecticut Water Company. And it will come through an interconnection between the Gallup and Crystal water system. So, of note, we are not located in the designated, state-designated, local-designated aquifer protection area. That is shown in the red area. So that's the northern extent of the aquifer protection area is about Cemetery Road area. So similar to the orange area, where everything drains within that boundary, it drains northward. In the aquifer protection area, that is the zone of contribution to the Gallup wells. So the water supply wells operated by Connecticut Water Company. Those wells are located that way about a quarter mile, I guess, the other side of the Inner Royal Superfund site. So all the water within the red area drains to those wells. That is well outside of our area. Again, it's south of Cemetery Road. All the water within the drainage basin where we are drains inward and then northward along Sugar Brook. Thank you.
Question, how many test wells have you done already to see where the water goes?
Thank you, Scott. So part of the purpose behind the Q&A, and we're there now, is so that we can get everything recorded so that if we don't have answers here tonight, we can get you those answers. What I would ask for everybody who wants to have a question answered, or wants to make a comment, or wants to say what they feel about this project, I'd ask that you kind of line up here, speak into the mic because we're recording it, be careful of the cables. We'll go one at a time for 3 minutes at a time, and if you have more to say after your 3 minutes are up, just get back in line, and we will keep doing that. But I want to give everybody a chance to say what they want to say. So thank you very much. Sir, go ahead.
My name's Henry Castaldi. I live at 101 Brothers Lane, Connecticut. I have a question about this natural gas. How is that going to go about? We don't have any, what size main's going to go in up there for the natural gas? You guys are going to have to dig up all the Route 12 to put all new gas mains in. The other thing is, you're saying that the aquifer isn't going to be affected. If you're going to have 100 and something trucks come in a day, one hydraulic tank on a truck can hold anywhere from 75 to 150 gallons of hydraulic fluid. Are they going to be all environmentally safe? If a truck gets into an accident, the tank ruptures, and he's going across our aquifer, who's going to answer to that?
Our health will.
Exactly. Thank you. You people take everything into consideration for your pocketbooks, but nothing in consideration for the families that have lived here for hundreds of years. Go build somewhere else.
Tough act to follow.
Go ahead, Rick.
The answer to the first question on natural gas, the discussions with the Eversource Gas Company, they are willing to basically extend their gas line to our site so that we can interject the natural gas into the line.
That's not an answer.
Who's gonna pay for this? Our tax dollars or your pocketbook?
No, it's actually it will be paid for by the gas company.
That's bullshit. It all comes down to us in the long run.
Gas company, our tax.
Now, my second question, please. About the hydraulics.
Scott Bristol, could you,
Even diesel stuff.
Why all of a sudden Plainfield?
Oh, I don't know.
So like,
There's no place
They
else.
pump the land
like any
available.
facility,
Yeah, but there's
this
no
will have a
place
spill
to
plan,
take it.
right? You have to have a spill plan, some sort of contingency plan to respond to spills.
I cannot hear
you in the back.
Close. It's on. You're close.
Alright, so just like the highway, any road, if there's a spill, it is responded to typically by the fire department, DEP emergency response. Okay? Now, you mentioned the aquifer. What if it goes to the aquifer? Okay? So the aquifer encompasses most of Central Village. Yes.
We live on Mother's Lane.
Right.
It's right under our property. Our wells are there.
The mapped aquifer area, which is the regulated area, which is in the red zone on the figure. Yep. That is regulated by DEP. It's regulated locally, technically. There are certain activities that can and can't occur within that area. Okay. There are obviously a lot of sources of contamination within the mapped aquifer protection area. One is the Royal site, right across the street, that you just got something like $6 million to clean up. That has had no impact on the Gallup wells to date. The fire was 20-something years ago, I believe.
Look how many people have died from cancer from that mill since then. Do your homework, buddy.
So go ahead.
I've got basically three questions. The first one has to do with any plans for improvements in the technology. Are there, the way the plan is designed now, it's taking advantage of some of the newer technologies that are used by Japan and Finland and others. Are there any forthcoming changes that you expect to see in the next 5 to 10 years, or anything that you think is going to impact this process and improve it? That's one. And the other concern I have is, in this current regulation environment that we're seeing now federally is not one that gives me confidence. And the regulations that you're designing and building this thing under, I'm very, very nervous about enforcement. And is there any way, I'm not sure this is a question you can really answer, but my concern is those regulations, how is enforcement really going about with that? And the third question is, how does this plant actually make money? Or and where are the funds coming in, going out, and how does that impact, let's say, normal business in Plainfield? You mentioned that there's jobs, but there's not that many jobs, but a few. And there's also some tax dollars that are going to be added to the funds that Plainfield gets from their population as well. How does the plant actually make money?
Thank you, sir. I can answer the first question about technology. The facility is only currently, to be honest with you, 30% designed. We're required to design up to that point just to get to where we are today for informational purposes and permitting purposes. Along the way of doing that, dealing with our manufacturers from Finland and BHS, who's, I should say, located here in the U.S., in Washington State, we have found that, and I'll give you an example of this. In the sorting facility, by adding 5 robotic and stations and laser optics, we can pull out additional recyclable materials. That was an option that came to light just recently with AI technology. They're doing this at one of their other facilities in Minnesota. We hadn't looked at that before. They brought it to our attention. So to answer your question, yes, as it evolves, it's going to be designed for, and it won't change the design, but it'll add to the design, okay? As far as the technology growing in the future, we believe that, the separation of the materials, and by the way, why is that so important? That's what keeps the emission levels as low as they are. These emission levels, as Mr. Fraser from TRC will tell you, they're lower than fossil fuel natural gas, which is almost an incredible feat to do, okay? And as far as the enforcement levels, we are lower than the current standards. Not only that, but I think, Bob, you want to comment a little bit about enforcement of emissions levels today and where we are and what you tried to accomplish up here in your discussion.
Yes, thank you. First thing I want to say is the Clean Air Act and the Clean Air Act amendments of 1990 were legislated by Congress. They are the law of the land. President Trump may be looking at things like the Green New Scam, and I don't believe in CO2 and things like that. He cannot overturn the Clean Air Act. The Clean Air Act ensures clean and healthy air quality for all. Secondly, the Connecticut DEEP is very stringent in their own regulations. The state regulations always trump federal regulations, they're not above. And the state of Connecticut is very aggressive in terms of its enforcement, especially on plants like this, large facilities that burn trash. And so this is not something that's going to be turned around by the Trump EPA. In fact, the emissions we're proposing to meet were proposed under the Biden administration. And the Trump administration put it under reconsideration. Those rules are presently under reconsideration by the Trump administration, but we're proposing to meet them now.
Thank you, Bob. As far as your third question, sir, on economics, I'd like Bill Corvo, the manager of SMART, to discuss a little bit.
The question is, how do you make money? What's the plan? Historically, Connecticut has been, the state of Connecticut has been extremely supportive of development of waste processing systems. In the late 1980s, they developed the Resource Recovery Authority methodology, where they supplied bonding funds and electric offtake agreements to new facilities, which we're all familiar with, which at the time were built in order to stop landfilling of garbage. And the reason they did that is clearly stated in the statute, that it was environmentally bad for the people of Connecticut to continue landfilling garbage. I think when I was a kid, they used to call them garbage dumps. So they implemented the Resource Recovery Authority methodology. This is not, one of the problems with the Resource Recovery Authority methodology is that it didn't make any plans for developmental improvements of existing plants so that you could get new technologies implemented. Nobody has a problem redoing and fixing up the sewage treatment plants that we have around the state. It's common sense. You have to take care of those environmental issues. The same should be applicable to the waste processing system. Currently, there have been, over the last 2 years, there's been numerous discussions about development of a Connecticut Waste Authority system. The Connecticut Waste Authority system will follow the funding, some of the funding mechanisms of the resource recovery. They will provide bonding to entities that will be created under the Connecticut Waste Authority system. our technology is designed to do the best possible job in handling municipal solid waste processing that exists anywhere in the United States. We are waiting for, while we move forward with our permitting, we anticipate that the state will evolve the Connecticut Waste Authority system in such a way that they will issue some kind of a request for proposal that we can bid to and have our project built. In the absence of the state stepping up to the plate and putting an intelligent
We gotta
methodology
move this
together,
along, come on now. We got a lot of people in line.
then the thing that has to happen is
You said 3 minutes. These people are waiting in line. Your answers are 10 minutes.
answering your question.